Good morning, Janice.
Good morning, Anthony.
Are you ready to talk about inheriting money? Do these 5 things first.
Let's do it.
Janice, are you inheriting any money?
That's a good question, to which I don't have the answer.
Me neither. Well, that's good. That means all my loved ones are still around and kicking. Yeah.
Yes. I have a 98-year-old grandmother who is still doing well.
Very good. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. So we have very long lines.
All right. So this one comes from our website at anthonyspark.com. And let's get into it. Janice, can you help us run down the 5 things to do first when you inherit some money?
So absolutely. You talk about, are you expecting an inheritance? Maybe you know, maybe you don't know. What should you do with it? So you say familiarize yourself with the inheritance process. We've talked about this before. We can touch on it now too. The inheritance process, you have to go through, probate or non-probate. But it's a long, sometimes frustrating process. When someone passes, there's steps that have to be taken for the different types of funds, and it's not quick. It sometimes could take a year or more to settle. So you may go quite a while before you actually receive this money. So you have to be familiar and also be maybe a little bit patient.
Yeah, so here we see this a lot with our clients and heirs for the estates that we work with. There's the date of death, and a week or so after that, there's the funeral, the services, and then after about a month or two, folks are ready to start, really tackling what needs to be done. But the money is still not going to come out at that point. I think folks maybe see TV shows, or I don't know.
Do you mean if it's on TV, it's not right? I thought it was all right.
I mean, I guess it's understandable. You would think, hey, it's been 3 months since, Uncle Bob passed. Why isn't everything ready yet? And that's just not how it works. And the reason for that is, not only is there a court procedure to prove whether or not the will is good and who should be in charge, there's a whole, in New York at least, there's a 7-month waiting period to make sure any unknown creditors, such as maybe Medicare or Medicaid, make sure that everyone gets paid. And of course, Uncle Sam wants to get paid, so you have to settle all final taxes.
Right.
And it just takes time. It's a lot of bureaucracy. So all that has to happen before an estate or an executor knows how much money is left or how much money is available to actually pay your inheritance. And that's why it takes so long. And Janice, did I tell you I'm wrapping up our next book? It's a probate guide, title To Be Determined. That should be coming out in a couple of weeks. So it'll cover a lot of these topics.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that because there are this is a very complex process. So it'd be really nice to have a how-to guide, especially not a lot of people go through this. They're not, professional executors like yourself. So it would be nice to show them how the process works. One last thing that you say, number 1, is the order of settling. So let's say the inheritance is, $100,000. Well, you have to first pay the expenses and then the debts and the taxes and then to the heirs. So, it could be, like you said, it's a process, but there's a lot of other things that go into play first before it's that final check. Here you go.
Yeah, Janice, as you know, we're working with those very friendly brothers, Joseph and John.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks like the credit card debts are going to exceed the assets. So it's really good that they came to us because we can help make sure that they don't end up overpaying and actually paying out of their own pockets for estate debts. So we'll talk about that.
Right. Yeah, and that's important. And I say all the time, you definitely have to get a professional to help you with this process. It's tough. It really is. And you've done how many? I joke about this. Hundreds, if not thousands, of estates as a professional administrator.
Yeah, as an executor, definitely approaching over 200. But as an attorney, could be getting close to 1,000 now. Yeah.
Right. So I'm just going to go on a limb and say that you kind of know the process, right? Which is going to be a little bit easier than trying to fumble through this on your own. But so number 2, you say, is know what you're inheriting. What type of asset? So you've explained the tax. I'll ask you in a minute, but whether you're going to get from a bank account or a brokerage account, or there's different types of assets that have different tax ramifications or different ways that you get to receive it. Is that correct?
Yes. Specifically, we talk about qualified accounts, tax qualified accounts are things like 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs. And depending on what your relationship is, if you're a spouse or a child, if you receive one of those types of accounts, there's a certain way you want to deal with it to make sure you maximize the tax efficiency. We don't, it's not appropriate to get into all that here on a casual podcast like this.
Right.
But just knowing that is enough for you to be able to sort of red flag and say, oh, I should talk to my CPA or my attorney to make sure I do this right.
Right. That's important. Number 3, make a written plan for the money. So I go back to that $100,000. Let's say that's what you're going to get. Or even if you don't know, if it could be a few dollars, make a plan and write it down. That is with any budget that you do, monthly, is if you write it down, you're a little less likely to, whittle away at it quickly. Make a plan. Have a plan.
We see this so much, Janice. And I guess this is almost like a personal finance thing, not so much estates, but we have heirs who call and, we know that they've already received like $60,000, whatever, $50,000 out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like the unexpected windfall.
I do.
And then it's Christmas and they're saying, hey, where's the rest of my inheritance? I need it right now to pay to buy Christmas presents. I'm like, what happened to the other $50,000?
$60,000. Like, where'd it go?
So, yeah, just, maybe perhaps being a little organized could avoid situations like that.
Right. And, that's a good point, that if you think you're going to get $100,000 and you get, 60 originally, because it might not come all at one time in one big check,
Mm-hmm.
you have to prepare that you might not get that other 40,000 for another year or so. Yeah. So, pay your, maybe your debts off first or something and make good financial decisions. So that way you're not in a pickle when it comes to, oh boy, I need that other 40,000, but it's not coming for a while. It brings us right into number 4 with investing wisely. So let's say you get your inheritance, you paid off some of your debt. Maybe it's a good time to work on your retirement or like some investments, whatever your pleasure is for that. But maybe that's a good time to make that money work for you in your future, not just the immediate right now.
Again, this falls kind of under the category of personal finance or money management advice, but it's good advice. Once you've paid off your debts and you're living net positive, meaning not only not paycheck to paycheck, but out of the red, the order of putting your money away would be first you want to have a rainy day fund, generally 6 months of expenses to cover it in case anything happens. I know most Americans don't have that, but that's the ideal.
But it would be a good idea to have, sure, if you could.
Yeah. And then you want to make sure you're maxing out your annual contributions, and that would be either to your 401k or your IRA, depending on your employment situation. And the reason those are so important is because you get all sorts of tax goodies. When you do those, you can either get free money. Free money. Did you hear what I said? Free money.
Wait, can you say that again? You said free money? Really?
Yeah.
I'm in.
Your employers will actually match what you put into your many employers, will match what you put into your 401k. So you're literally getting free money. But there's another version of that, meaning with every 401k and traditional IRA, that money grows tax free from now until when you retire. So I know that's more of an academic concept, but just imagine having your dividends and interest growing and compounding without having to pay any tax for the next 30, however old you are, 30 years. That's actually a huge tax-free benefit, but that's harder to wrap your head around sometimes. Free money sounds better.
Free money sounds way better. You had me at free money. But no, it's a great idea because, like you said, if you could go through $60,000 that quick, or whatever, $50,000. Wouldn't it be nice in 10 years from now when that $50,000 is like tripled? That'd be, and you're ready to retire yourself and you can live nicely. I think.
Oh, please share with me your investment advice, because I want to triple my money every 10 years.
Right. Well, you were saying free money. I'm all excited and just giving it away. As soon as I figure out how to do that, I will let you know. Another podcast.
Cool.
How to triple in 10 years.
That would be a very, very popular podcast.
And then you finish it up saying splurge within reason. Okay. You know what? You've got an old car. It's run down. You definitely could use another one. You buy a good, sound vehicle that you know is going to last you. It's good for the family. That's a pretty reasonable. I don't even know if I call that a splurge. I would call that a well thought out, temporary investment. A good working car sounds like something good you could do with that money originally.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this.
This has
to do with the psychology of what's happening here. I mean, you're probably receiving money from a recently passed loved one, and this is probably family wealth or a good friend, and they didn't work all their lives and save and accumulate for you to, I don't know, reduce your monthly mortgage payment necessarily. I mean, that's useful too, for sure. But some of this is to make your day-to-day life just a little bit, sweeter, a little bit better. And you may be sending your kid to the camp that you couldn't quite afford before, or the car kind of seems like more of a day-to-day thing, something more like a nice dinner even, just something to make it an honorarium to what was left to you. I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, and you're saying here, not just because you could go buy a Ferrari, doesn't mean you should go buy a Ferrari. There's a lot of other things that you should do with it.
But something that's not so much a necessity, but something that feels like you really sort of appreciated the bequest, yeah?
Yeah, how hard they work to save that money. That's not easy to do.
Sure.
And your final word of advice is just be patient while you wait for it. We talked in the beginning. You may need the money right away. And I'm sure, working with attorney, we get that. But a lot of the times it's out of our hands. We've done the first, step, but we wait on the next 15 steps by the bank or what have you. But you just have to know going into it, it is not a quick process.
Yeah. Just expect it'll take years. And if it gets in any sooner, that'll be a pleasant surprise.
A bonus. Yeah. That'll be a bonus if it's earlier. But we're trying, we're definitely trying.
Cool. All right. So those are the 5 things you need to do first if you're inheriting some money. Janice, anything else?
No, this is definitely a good article. What to do when this time comes.
All right. You can read the whole text at anthonyspark.com. And remember, my book, The Probate Guide, will be coming soon on Amazon. Check that out when it gets there. All right. Talk to you soon. Thanks, Janice.
No problem. Talk soon.
Bye.